Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of the How to Adult with Travis Walker podcast. Today's episode is with one of the next gen pastors over at Praise Church in Beaumont, Texas. Pastor Darian came on the show to talk all about how faith and adulthood are linked and how important it is to have faith as a young adult especially. So, this is a deep episode. We go into some deep topics. I'm really excited to hear what you guys think about this episode. So, make sure that you go and follow the podcast at How to Adult TW on Facebook and Instagram so you can let me know how you feel about the podcast. And make sure that you are rating and reviewing wherever you are listening to this podcast. That's super duper important. With all that being said, y'all, we have got to get into the show and learn how to adult. All right, Darian, you've made it to the show. I'm really excited. This is an incredibly important topic, and I know you feel very strongly about it, so welcome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I've gotten a chance to see you for the last little bit and see you I haven't seen you, I guess, after you had your kid, but on Facebook and everything. And I'm excited to be on. And like I said, this is an opportunity that I get to learn really kind of from you, but also hopefully share and help out some other people.
Yeah, this is incredible. This is incredible. So I usually start off my show just getting to know you a little bit so the listeners can know who you are. So I'm just going to ask, how old are you? What do you do for work? And where are you located in the world?
So I am currently 26 years old. I live in Beaumont, Texas. And right now I serve at Praise Church, which is a local church here in Beaumont, Texas, as the young adult pastor.
Awesome. So what does young adult mean to Praise specifically?
Yeah, so that's a great question. For the longest time, if you would have asked me about a year and a half ago, I would have said 18 to 25, hard cap, like this is young adult. But just really as I've started like maybe digging deep and really started having conversations with more people, what we define young adult as 18 plus. And really it kind of sits in this range of when you have determined that you've kind of got like maybe some like notches on your belt, then a young adult at Praise Church is someone who is in their college life, little maybe post-grad. They've got maybe one kid, but they are still trying to figure out like friendships, relationships, budgeting, finances, and really just like trying to find community in and around themselves. And they're not as planted as maybe a quote unquote like adult would be or a traditional adult would be. So That's kind of how we define young adult here at Praise Church, and anybody's welcome.
That's perfect. That's really how I define my audience as well. So I think that we're going to have a really targeted conversation. And so I think a great way to start this conversation is just to take a look at some pretty well-known data that I found pretty easily. But 66% of young adults who attend a Protestant church their senior year say that they drop out for at least a year between the ages of 18 to 22. So, this is pretty well-known data, and it's not really groundbreaking, but I would love to hear, what does that mean to you when you hear that, and also consider the people that you serve at Praise Church? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, honestly, man, I believe that stat is actually higher. I don't have the scientific, the ability to prove that, but what I see just from people that are coming out of the youth group, is a lot of them actually do fall off in their faith, and it's heartbreaking.
Right.
And really kind of my job is to be the bridge of the gap, to make sure that stat gets as low as possible.
Right.
And so I don't know, I've kind of struggled with this, to be honest with you, of what is it that maybe the church is doing? What is it that we're doing like in our young adult ministry, or is it just on the person? And I think it's a little bit of all three. And I don't know. I think that why most people are kind of walking away from their faith is their parents have maybe just held them and they've dropped them off at youth group, right? So on Wednesday nights, a lot of times they're not making the decision to go to church. And so then you come to a young adult ministry, you go to college, or you get away from your parents. It's your first time being able to make that decision to say, I do not have to listen or do what anybody else says.
Right.
And you know how the world works. Like there's so many things that are so attractive. So you've got the job, you've got the house, you've got the girl, you've got the boy, you've got the career, the homework. There's so many different things that are saying, take me, take me, take me, take me, pick me, pick me, pick me. And people choose them, or they want to taste and they want to see. And a lot of times what sin does, or things that are kind of pulling you away from the world or pulling you away from God, is it makes itself seem like it is way more important. And it's fun for a little bit, But for me, in my context of believing in the Bible and believing in God, that it's fleeting. And all these things are meant to distract you and meant to take you away from who or what I believe to be true about God.
Right.
And it's easy just to get away from it.
Right. Yeah, totally. I think that that's a really good assessment of kind of what's going on in that age range that's pulling people away. And I probably agree with you, just kind of thinking back on my experience and thinking about who was there senior year and who's there now.
Yeah.
I think that that's fairly accurate. And so the big overarching question that I'm wanting, maybe we'll get to answer, maybe we won't, but the big overarching question that I'd love to get to is, why is faith so important in adulthood, especially the age range that we're talking about? Why is having faith and being connected to your faith so important?
Yeah, so I think this is maybe a two-part answer, but I would say the first is for those of people that believe in Jesus, right? Or if they're a Bible person, they have some sort of faith, but faith is important to every single person, right? Whether you're agnostic, whether you're atheist, whether you're a Bible believing Christian, or maybe you're Islamic, wherever you're at, you have to have faith in something. And so
Right.
if you have faith in science, that's important. If you've got faith in Jesus, that's important as well. But you can't just go throughout your life blindly believing in something. There has to be some sort of backbone that we all subconsciously, or maybe deep down inside of us, we all hold to be true. And so faith is important because it's the essence. It's the reason why we wake up in the morning. I've got faith that I'm going to walk across the street and I'm going to go to my house, right? I've got faith that I'm going to get into this car and I'm going to go there. All these things are built off of something. And so we as Christians, I say we, myself, I put my faith in Jesus because I believe that I need something greater than myself. And a lot of
Amen.
times people will say, well, it's a bad way to live your life needing something. And I say, absolutely, man, it might be a really bad way, but I just know that I'm not good enough. I'm actually like in need of something that can guide me, that can help me, that can point me and ultimately lead me into a better direction. And I'm not even talking about eternity here. I'm talking about just in my everyday life. I've got a lot of things that I'm not proud of in me. Like currently today, I'm the pastor of the church and I've got things in me that I'm like, man, I need help. Like
Right.
I've got anger, I've got pride, I've got contentment issues, I've got maybe even just like insecurities in me that I need something bigger than myself. So I've got to have faith in something higher to point me and lead me and direct me so that I don't end up in the pits of the ground in shambles every single day and I'm not a healthy person. So I have faith in God, and that's why I believe that every single person needs something that they should lean their life onto. And I
Right.
think the second part of it too is, and more of a more simple answer is faith's important because it's all we have.
Right.
Like without faith, we're kind of just floating, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have faith, then I think that you aren't anchored into anything. And when you're not anchored in anything, you will move to the left on one day and you'll move to the right in the next day. You become manic. You become a little bit unpredictable. And whether you're in a job, whether you're in a church, whether you're in a marriage or relationship, to be stable, I think you have to have faith in something.
Right. Right. I think that's a fantastic answer. And I think a great danger that I see in the world when we look at the individual is complacency, right? And I think faith, regardless of what that faith is, we're obviously our knowledge is more based in Christianity.
Yeah.
But I think that faith demands that you are constantly moving and constantly improving and constantly thinking about how you can be better as an individual. And so I think that, if you're looking at the very simplistic view of just the danger of complacency, faith plays a very, very important role in especially being a young adult. What's your
Yeah.
response to that? Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's important. Like you think about your 20s, right? So we're talking about 18 to whatnot. The decisions you make now will 100% affect your future. And so you would want to have some faith. I would bet money for the people that they have faith in a God, right? In their 20s. Their 30s, their 40s, their 50s are far greater. Not because God is going to do something great in their 20s and it's going to set them up in their 40s and their 50s and their 60s. No. But because the decisions that you make now, they do dictate your future.
Right.
And the friends that you keep in your 20s are oftentimes going to affect your 30s and your 40s. And so the things that you make a priority right now, so faith,
Mm-hmm.
It's a launching pad for success. It's a launching pad for love. It's a launching pad for stability. It's a launching pad for really just mental capacity inside of your head and to live this life. And I don't know, man, I believe in faith, and I believe that every single person should have a little bit of it. It doesn't take much. A
Right.
little bit of faith can go a long way.
Right. I completely agree. I completely agree. And so I think a foundational kind of aspect of being connected to your faith is community. And so what role does community play in our conversation about both faith and adulthood? Where do you see that playing a role?
Man, I don't believe that we were meant to do this world alone.
Right.
And so I don't see the benefit in isolation. I know myself, right? So I'll speak from my own personal experiences. Some of the best moments of my life have been with my friends and been with my family and been with people around me. Some of the worst moments of my life, where maybe I could say were moments of filled with anxiety or moments that were filled with depression, were moments when I've self-isolated or I felt like I couldn't be around other people. And so I would pull myself away from others. So it means I'm pulling away from people to speak life into me, to encourage me. I'm pulling myself away from people to call me out when I'm wrong, for people to tell me that I'm doing something maybe a little bit off the course or off the vision of where I should be headed. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, it's when I get around other people, I'm able to go from different experiences from what they've learned, from what they've seen. But if I'm by myself, I've only got one track mind. And how can I get better? How can I get worse if I'm not around anybody else?
Right.
And so I don't know. I believe that getting around other people in community, when things hit the fan, man, the first people that I'm calling are the people in my circle. So I'm calling my wife. I'm calling my best friend. Community doesn't have to be necessarily people around you. But I think when we see some of the greatest leaders of all time, whether that be presidents, whether that be historical figures, whether that be characters in the Bible, they always have people around them. They have people pointing them, they have people pulling them, they have people pushing them. And so I believe in a model of two people in front of you, right? So there's two people ahead of you that can hold you accountable, and there's always one person underneath you that you're pointing and guiding into the right direction. And we see this model in the Bible, but we also see this model exemplified in business leadership, right? So you've got like a CEO, you've got like a trustee board, or there's like a board and elders or deacons or whatnot. And there's always someone right underneath there, an executive. There might be a trustee, a vice president, whoever it may be. And this is just so there's not just one person making all the decisions. And that should be the same way we all live our life, is that you're not the only person making the decisions in your life. You've got people that you can come around to that can pray with you, that can point with you, that can help you,
Yeah.
They can pick you up when you're down, but also they can support you when things don't go your way, or maybe when things are going your way and they can kind of knock you down.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And I love that you pointed toward society in general, right? Executives have their boards, and Jesus had his disciples, and so we should have our people that we are doing life with, and I think that that's really important, and something that that Praise does really well is kind of leans on small groups. And so can you talk about like the foundation of small groups and why they're so important and what they do?
Yeah. So, like I said, so at Praise Church, we believe in small groups. And for people that don't believe in small groups, or for people that have maybe never heard of a small group, it really is, it's a group of people that we would consider to be anywhere between maybe 6 to about maybe 12 people or so. And this is just more so community building. And so we'd say in Acts 2, we see an example of what happened when really people were getting around with one another. So they would break bread. So we would say, let's meet inside of a home. We believe that conversations can be broken down at the essence of a table or on a couch. It's a little bit more disarming, and it's a lot easier to show up at someone's house than it is probably at a church. And so you show up at someone's house and we say, let's eat some food together, because great conversations happen over food. And then from there, would you ask someone to pray? And then just maybe invite God into the conversation. And then let's just talk about a topic. And so maybe that topic tonight is going to be, health. Maybe this topic tonight is going to be business. Maybe this topic tonight is going to be Romans 5. Maybe this topic tonight is just going to be a sermon or a message or a TED Talk or a podcast that we can all conversate and come along to. And in those moments, it really is just building life with one another. And so it could be, we've got small groups that are focused on basketball. And so guys that want to play basketball, we've got small groups that they want to go on a walk or a run, or they want to play ultimate Frisbee, or they want to go cycling. And so it's just finding commonality with a group of people that can all point you in the right
Mm-hmm.
and get people that are in your same age group, same stage of life. So we've got Mary groups, we've got girls groups that are into tennis, we've got girls groups that are, I don't know, into guys that are playing basketball, people that are like working out. And so everybody just being defined by maybe a title or a group, and then getting into those moments where you can have deep, meaningful conversations. And we believe that if you're able to have deep, meaningful conversations and point everything back to Jesus, you're in community with people that can do life with you. And like I said, we don't want you to do life alone. We want you to do life with people. We saw in the Bible, iron sharpen iron, right? We see different examples of Jesus being around disciples, and we see great examples of Paul and Timothy. I mean, I can go down the list of these discipleship moments, these community moments. And so at Praise Church, we just say small group is an opportunity for people to grow in their discipleship. And it's also an opportunity for people to make a really big church feel really, really, really small. And so small groups are, it's the best way that I know how to disciple people. And it's also what I can see is the best way that Jesus led thousands of people through small groups.
Amen. Amen. That's amazing. I love that effort. So I wanted to spotlight it. And so kind of going back to our conversation of adulthood and faith and how that kind of goes together. And the younger generation is naturally progressive, right? And that's not just, millennials and Gen Z, that you think about the 60s, all the interesting things that are happening in the 60s are led by young people because they are naturally progressive. So, just kind of agreeing upon that, a generation that is naturally progressive, how does the church engage with, fairly conservative ideas? The church is associated with conservative ideas. How do they connect and engage with a generation that is naturally progressive? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And it is an evolving question, right? Because like you said, in the 60s, it was a generation that was leading. In the 70s, and all the younger the people are, the more that the world is turning, and the more that the next more important thing, or the more attractive thing that maybe goes against what the Word of God says, or what the conservative value may be of the church. And so every day is different. I'll tell you that. There's new apps that are coming out that I'm like, oh dang, I just figured out TikTok. I'm not even old. Like I'm just like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do a reel? Now there's Be Real. Now there's Be Social. I mean, there's so many different things that are providing opportunities for people to be like, okay, this is a new app. This is something new. And so what the church is how do we get in front of this stuff? Not be led by culture, but lead culture. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So making sure that culture isn't dictating what we're doing. We want to be the ones who dictate culture. And so empowering people to not just work inside of the four walls of the church, but to go and do what you're doing, like create a podcast. And you know what? Don't make your target audience Christians. Let your target audience be people outside of the church, and let us lead through the conversations that will point people to ask the question, I am interested in what this guy's saying because of something more or something deeper. And let them think whatever, oh, you're a nice guy, blah, blah. But you and I would know that this is something that's inside of our heart, our faith, right?
Right.
And so what we do inside of our church world is we just provide opportunities, not to compete with culture, but to provide a better alternative. And so on Tuesday night, it is my goal that I want to have the best experience. I want to be I want people to walk away from a Tuesday night and say, this was better than going to Buffalo Wild Wings. This was better than sitting at home watching the TikTok. This was better than going out to the club or to the bar. And so we try to provide an unbelievable, irresistible environment on a Tuesday night. And so that means we're going to have a food truck. We're going to have maybe a game or so. We're going to have a theme. We're going to have an opportunity for you to hang out with your friends. And so maybe that looks like video games or ping pong. Maybe it looks like a giveaway. Maybe it looks like some fun music. Maybe it looks like something like cornhole or washers. I don't know. We're going to create an environment for an hour or so that makes it unbelievably irresistible for you to be able to walk away and say, I am glad that I came. And then we were going to point you to the door to say, this is something even better than that outside party. So it could be a mechanical bull outside, a live band, a food eating competition. It could be a hula hoop, whatever it is. All that doesn't matter until you walk through the doors at 7:30, like on our Tuesday night, and say, that was so much fun, but this right here. So what we would say our service element, and make the main thing the main thing. And so we want to keep Jesus at the center of it all. But I do believe that you can redeem things. And so, man, we can listen a second. music, we're going to redeem it though. So what are we doing? What are we watching? What are we enjoying in this moment? And then how can we make this honoring to God? And that's really just the job of the church, is just to take things back. So there's so many different things. I mean, think about the hospital, think about the EMT. Like, these were all Ivy League schools. Like, these were things that Christians started. And I believe it's on us to take those things back, not necessarily like create a culture of you have to be Christian to live here, or necessarily the church is the only way. I do believe that I want everybody to believe in Jesus, and I want everybody to be involved in a local church. But
Okay.
I think that there's things that we can do to redeem culture. And I don't know, man, I just believe in if everybody is on Tuesday nights, they're going to Taco Tuesday. Okay, well, why don't we just have Taco Tuesday at the church? Stop giving them excuses to go other places. Let's just have it here. If everybody is on Tuesday night, they're going to the movies. All right, well, why don't we just show a movie? Give them opportunities to be here instead of outside in the world. And I think that's going to be it. But now everything is changing, right? So next year, the thing that's going to be interesting is, I don't know, everybody might want to be doing VR. And, you know, as we start seeing AI and all this different stuff, technology.
Yeah.
All right, well, how is the church going to adapt to that? And I don't have the answers to it, but I know there's a lot of people that are thinking that stuff. So if people get involved in video games, I guarantee it, we're going to figure out a way to make sure that we're not competing with them, but we are leading them. And so I think it's just creativity and empowering leaders inside of the church to take those creative ideas, and instead of pointing people to the world to do them, point them to Jesus, and just do it through your lens, or through your circumstance or your job or your sphere, wherever you're at. And just giving people those opportunities to go out and to be what we would say is a light in a dark world.
Yeah. Wow. That was an incredible answer. And I love that it's really focused on taking away the excuses to not go, and giving them excuses to go or to be connected. I think that's really incredible. And meeting people where they're at is a key foundation of kind of what I hear you saying right now. Incredible. So what kind of damage do you see not being connected to some type of faith? What kind of damage does that do primarily to young adults?
So I believe this to be true, and this is maybe a taboo topic that I believe that the church we do not do a good job of talking about. So in a world where anxiety and depression and mental health and mental illness is super prevalent, or maybe it's just not, it's more talked about now than it was back then, or more exposed with the social media age. I do believe that faith plays a huge factor into that. And I believe that so oftentimes there are people that are out there, and I'll take all the flack, whatever, that's fine, that believe that like anxiety and depression is because of a lack of faith. I don't believe that to be true. I think you can be a solid Bible believing Christian and still struggle with mental illness, and still struggle with things that are inside of you that some people might label and say, because you don't have faith, these things don't happen. However, I do believe that because of our lack of faith, those things are more difficult to deal with. And so we see a lot of people that are outside the church that are struggling maybe with depression, or they're struggling with anxiety, or they're struggling with crippling social awareness or social cues, or even just maybe social interaction based off of the pandemic or whatnot. And because they don't have faith, they are left to hold the burden themselves. They're left to hold all the weight on themselves. And without having something higher or something to point to or to resort back to, because our emotions are fleeting, right? So I might wake up today and I might be sad. Tomorrow, I might be happy. Tonight, I might be mad. What faith allows us to do is it allows us to have something that does not move. And so when I say faith, I'm talking about the word of God. I'm talking about a guy who I believe to be perfect in Jesus. And so when I am not perfect, and when things are not going in my way, when I become anxious or when I become depressed, that I can go to a thing that's not moving, and that's having faith. When I don't have faith, I have to resort into my own emotions. I have to resort into other people. And now I'm putting all the responsibility on me or on someone else. And I know myself. I'm kind of crazy. I know myself. I go through things, and I know the friends, I know the family, and sometimes people are not reliable. And this is not to say that you can't rely on people or you can't rely on yourself. It's actually to say is you just need to rely more on God or have more faith in something higher, more being that is not going to move based off off your circumstance.
Right. Wow. Wow. Okay. That's a fantastic answer. And so thinking about the people that have, been in church and maybe gone off, thinking about those people that may be listening to this now, I think about my wife, Amber, her first, experience with her anxiety, her diagnosing, generalized anxiety disorder. Her first panic attack was in a church,
Yeah.
so, and thinking about the people that left the church because of what, people in the church know the term church hurt.
Yeah.
How do we address those people that have been pushed away from church, pushed away from faith because of a negative experience? How do we address that?
Yeah. I think so. Uh, when we say the word church hurt, we have to maybe define it and maybe close it in a little bit.
Please.
And it's not the church that hurt you. It was a person that hurt you. Right.
Right.
So let's break it down into what did that person do? Right. Okay. So the person who made you feel like that anxiety wasn't worth it, or that made you feel like that decision you did brought shame and guilt. It's not the church's fault. The church is filled with a bunch of people. And so if we can address it at the root of the problem is this person made me feel like this, and I don't feel welcome or comfortable going to that place because of that. Now we have the conversation that we can get to. And when people come in and they say, man, I've got church hurt, or I don't know how to resolve this, I think the best thing that we can do is address it head on. Think about like the old child book saying of, we can't go over it, we can't go around it, we can't go under it, we got to go through it. And so with conflict, and when conversations, or when we've been pushed out or even pushed into the scenarios, the best thing we can do is address it head on. And so if there's a person that hurt you based off of those things, don't pin it on the church, pin it on the person.
Right.
And know that that person is just like you. So they've got moments in their life that are, maybe they had a bad day, and maybe they've got a circumstance, or maybe they've been hurt, or maybe they've been taught to go in and address that situation based off of the circumstance or the thing that's happened to them in their past 5, 10, 15 years, or whatever it may be. And I don't know, I'm a big grace guy. I believe that everybody has pure intentions, but sometimes doesn't always get demonstrated that way. And so whenever there's conflict that arises, or whenever there's issues at hand, or maybe there's a topic in the church that we don't do a good job as far as like maybe on anxiety or panic attacks, I believe that person who maybe said those things or has done those things, it is worth having a conversation with that person about. And then if it's a rule or a legislation that the church has, I think that's worth having a conversation with as well. But a lot of times what I see is people assume, or they think that, oh, because this was said to me, this is what everybody in that church thinks, or everybody in that ministry thinks. And I just don't think that's fair. And so I just believe in getting to the root, man. I believe in asking questions, hard questions, and conflict is tough. And so when we have faith, especially in the church world, things are really hard to define based off of, I don't know, numbers, or success based off of, how great things are going. It's a lot more touchy and feely. And so when this stuff kind of comes up, it's a lot of just like, hey, I need to get across the table from you. I need to be in community with you. I know your background. I know your story. And so we're speaking a lot more to people over than the policy.
Right. Wow. That was a fantastic way to address that. I think a big problem in society in general, kind of zooming out for a moment, is that we love to generalize as people, as individuals. We love to generalize, and people love to generalize the church, especially based off of an individual action or an individual, thought. And it's just not that simple. Society is not that simple. The church is not that simple. Faith is not that simple. And so we really scratch the surface on some of the challenges that people have with the church, but I love to shift and focus on the opportunity that faith provides people. And so what is the biggest opportunity, in your opinion, that being connected to faith provides people? Both, and we can both let's do like an internal answer, like to the individual, and an external advantage as well, or an opportunity as well.
Yeah, I think that to the individual, internally, it provides security
Yeah.
in a world that I believe about myself, and just a little bit background. I was the guy who, and I've done just about everything you can think of under the sun. So I've done all the drugs, all the sex, all the parties, I did everything, right? And all throughout those things that I thought that the world was providing for me, without my lack of faith, or my, what I would say, little to none faith, I didn't have any security. And so I was doing a lot of things that I believe to be helpful or long term that were not. And so I had lack of security. And so I would work really, really, really hard to make a lot of money, so that when I got to be 35 or 45 or 65, I would have something to hold back onto. I'd have something to store up to. Or I would say, I gotta party now so that I can get it out of my system. Or I gotta have, sex now, or I've got to do these things now so that when I get married, I don't have that desire. And that's just not true.
Right.
But what faith does is faith provides a sense of safety. It provides a sense of knowing, and you are known by the Creator when you have faith in something, faith in Jesus, I should say.
Right.
And so I believe that what faith does for each one of us is it allows for us to see something far greater in ourselves than we are able to see without. And I don't know, I think that probably for most people that are maybe struggling in their own faith walk, they're looking for that. They're looking for a sense of community. They're looking for a sense of belonging.
Right.
They're looking for a sense of wanting to lead something or be a part of something that's going to make a difference. And I don't know anything greater than to be a part of something that's making a difference than Jesus, affecting someone's eternity. I don't know something or something greater that can change the life of someone other than Jesus. I don't know anything greater that can affect eternity for every single person other than Jesus. And that all starts by having just a small bit of mustard seed of faith. Now, what was the you said internally, and then you said externally?
Yeah, maybe an external opportunity that people may have when they're connected to their faith.
Yeah, so I would say externally, having faith, man, I don't know, this is probably cliche, but it provides you and belongs you to something.
Right.
When you're a part of something, think about young adults, right? We all want to be a part of the next social justice movement. We want to be a part of recycling, or we want to be a part of, I don't know, the GoFundMe. We want to be able to put our money into something and be a philanthropist. We want to be able to be a part of something that's going to make a difference of the world. And I think that they tie in externally and internally, because what I believe that happens on the inside affects my outside.
Right.
And so when I have faith on the inside, it affects everything that I do in my daily life. So how I talk to people, how I live in my neighborhood, what I do at my job, what I do at the grocery store, how I raise my kids, what my kids are going to do, what my house looks like, all because of what's happening internally. My external things are now affected. And that all starts with having faith in something greater, because I have something to live for. If I don't have anything to live for, well, what's the point? It doesn't matter how I talk to my neighbors. It doesn't matter how I spend my money. It doesn't matter if I have sex with these people. It doesn't matter if I'm respectful to my wife or cheat on them, because I have faith, though. I have something to live for.
Right. Wow. That was great. I think that those are great opportunities that are really bestowed upon you when you're connected to faith. And I think another big one that we kind of touched on already is when you're connected to your faith, you gain a community that supports you and cheers you on and wants to be by your side as you move through life. I think that's a huge opportunity and a huge benefit when you are connected to your faith. But I think also internally, that's got to be authentic. That's got to be real for you, because then you'll just be in this internal battle of what actually is going on.
Yeah, you can't do it for anybody else. You can't do it because your mom said. You can't do it because it's the best thing to do to fit into a friend group. I mean, this is what happens when we talked about the statistic you shared of 66% of people. And I would say a lot of them are doing it because mom and dad told them, because it's the only way to be accepted in the school. It's the only way to be accepted in your friend group, is because everybody else put it on you. And then when they get to college and they're questioned in their faith by the teacher, the philosopher, they're questioned off of what they see on social media, they run away with it because there was never, or there was a lack of faith, or there was not a firm foundation, or there wasn't a rock that they could hold on to. And so if you don't do this for yourself, I would encourage you, don't do it at all, but find faith in something. And I believe this to be true, that everything else they will fail you. Because you don't have, in this faith of Christianity, you don't have to work to achieve anything.
Right.
And so if you are just doing this out of what's happening on the inside, then all those things will come. And so, this, I'm going to fall short. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to say something wrong. But those things now start affecting me because of something in the inside of me. And I don't want to be that way. I don't want to say those things. I don't want to act that way anymore because of my faith that I have, knowing that I can do something, be better, and I belong to something far greater than myself. And I need help. And so I need faith and a being that is almighty and all purposeful.
Right. I think that's incredible. And my next kind of point is that, with Christianity specifically, and I think the message that you're going through in PYA about, adulting is that, especially specifically the Bible guides you through life and guides you through things like managing money and doing these types of things. Can you share on that a little bit about, just faith being just guidance through life?
Yeah. If you are not dictating your heart, then your heart will go somewhere else. If you're not dictating your life will go into the hands of something else. And so it's like water, right? You pour water into something. If it doesn't have a tunnel, it's going to turn into a flood. But you put water into a direct path, it becomes a river. So you have to be really, really, really careful on what you do with your life and how you lead your life and how you lead your time and your money and all the things. You got to direct things. And so as young adults right now, we get to dictate and we get to determine what we do with our time, with our finances, with our relationships, with our jobs. And so if you're not dictating it and directing it in the right direction, it's going to go every single place else. And so what faith allows us to do is it points us in a direction already. It says, hey, here's the way, here's the truth, and here's the life. And you already have like the model for you. The model's already been set for us. We see it in 66 books of the Bible. The model is set. We don't have to figure it out. We don't have to ask any more questions. It's there. Okay, you want to know how to figure out money? It's in the Bible. You want to figure out how to be respectful and to live your life? It's there. And now it's on us to ask the questions. And if you don't have the answers, you don't have to be a Bible scholar to figure this stuff out. We can do it with one another. And that's in community as well. See how it's all intertwined and all interconnected. It just takes willingness, and it takes a desire that not someone else can put on you. And so that's why we always have a really big door. I'm willing to throw a really fun activity or an event to hopefully get someone put inside into a situation or a service or an event, so that they can say, man, that was really fun. I'm more willing or more likely to walk inside of those two doors and here's what some guys got to say for 25 minutes and ask some questions about why I'm here on this earth. I think everybody's asking these questions. What's my purpose? What's my calling? What am I here on this earth for? And what am I doing with my life? If you haven't asked that question, I don't know what to say. I think that you've asked it in a different way, or maybe you're just lying to yourself, to be honest with you. But when you have faith, those answers become a lot more clear. Doesn't become immediate overnight, but it becomes clear because you now have a purpose and you now have a calling because you have faith in something that's greater than yourself.
Wow. This is such an honest conversation. I think that's really important, and something that I think you're doing a great job at is just having honest conversations about difficult things is really important, and also points to, again, that this word of authenticity is incredibly important. And so before I get to my last question, what am I missing in terms of this conversation with faith and adulthood that I'm trying to bring together? What am I missing here? What are we not talking about?
I don't know, man. I think that number one, I think you're doing a great job of trying to tie the two, because I do believe that what happens is as people get older, they think that they can mature in their faith. And so
Mm.
what happens is the younger that you are, maybe in this adulting 18 to 30 range, it's like I can just put my faith off until I'm got kids, until I get 401k, until I retire. Because what we're told is that when you are Christian deathbed, then I'll be fine. And so it's like, why not wait until I'm 99? Why not wait until I'm about to pass away? And why not wait until the end of the day to say I believe in Jesus? And I would challenge any person out there is well, yes, you can wait until the last second on the last breath of your life to say, I believe in Jesus and all things will be great for you. Yes, you can do that. I would challenge you to say, but why not do it now?
Right.
If I could tell you right now that in a world that is challenging and that's beating you down and that is constantly making you feel insecure based off of likes, constantly putting you down based off of your age, constantly putting you down to question your identity with panic attacks, depression, anxiety. It's constantly making you question your innermost beings of things that you believe to be true, your identity, why you're here on this earth, your purpose, your calling, your life. Why would you wait until the end of the time?
Right.
Why would you go 45 years of suffering, of agony and pain when you could do it in your 20s?
Right.
Why not affect the life of someone else or even yourself now? Why not do it now? Why wait until you're 50? The only answer that I can think of is why someone would wait is because they don't know that something is greater.
Mm-hmm.
And it is on us as the church, or it is on me as the pastor. It is on us as the people that are Bible believing Christians to say, it is on me. It is my job to show someone else something greater. And sometimes people will not listen to your words if they do not see your actions.
Right.
And so it is important for us to display faith. Faith is not just something we do in our closet. Faith is not just something we do at a church on Sunday morning at 11:30. Faith is something that we live out in every single moment of our life. And so as an adult, someone who is adulting, right, or growing up and trying to become an adult, adulting is not a stage of your life. Adulting is who we are right now. Mm-hmm. It's not just a season. I don't know if we ever figure out adulting. I think of our mom and our dads and our parents. They're still trying to figure out what the taxes are saying. They're still trying to figure out how to get a better return on their investment. They're still trying to figure out how to parent their children. It doesn't just stop or start once you turn 21 or you turn 27. Adulting is our entire life, and it is who we are. We are constantly trying to get better.
Right.
And what faith does is it points us in the right direction to something that says you are at the point now where it is not on you, it is on Jesus. And you have to take the responsibility off of you to own your life, to lead yourself and guide you and say, I need something greater to guide me and lead me. And that's what faith is. And so I think if we can find a way as a church, not Praise Church, like the church, meaning church in California, church in New York City, church in Georgia, church in Beaumont, Old Texas, that if we can all get on the same page of saying that this is something that starts with me, and it's not on the responsibility of the person to the left or to the right. And if I can live out my faith in my daily lifestyle, at my job, at my college, in my life with my husband or my wife, and I can live this out for my family to see, I think that we can find and hopefully help people adult, not just in their 30s, not just in their 20s, but for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Wow. That was just jam-packed. And I think an important point that I didn't understand until I was in college was your point in earlier, which is faith-based maturity. It does not coincide like, actual maturity. Actual maturity comes with age. And something really hard for people to understand is that your faith maturity doesn't work like that. There are people that are more mature in their faith that are 15 than I am at 25. But also 100%. With that being said, I am more faith-based mature than people that are 60. That was an interesting concept that I really didn't understand until my 20s, that faith-based maturity is really all over the place. You can be stagnant for a long time and then you can grow so much in a short season. And so that's just an interesting concept that I think not enough people really fully comprehend. Do you know that to be
Yeah.
true, or am I making this up?
Oh, 100. No, you're 100% right. I think of for the person who is they just gave their life to Jesus, or they just started having faith in something. It's oftentimes like, oh my gosh, this 60-year-old man who just gave his life to Jesus is a baby in his faith, and this person who's 19 years old knows far more because they've been walking with Jesus longer. But in the world, you could be 60 and you're 40 years more advanced and wise and mature than this person in the world. And so this I guess coexisting, or this maybe even like intertwining of things is that your faith is not, your maturity in your faith is not determined on how long you've been walking with Jesus. Your maturity in your faith is determined based off of how well you understand who God is.
Right.
And you can do that in a month, you can do that in 6 years, and you can do that in 10 years. But just because you've been walking with Jesus for 50 years doesn't mean that you're not a baby in your faith.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to make that decision. Each one of us that believes in a higher being, we have to make that decision to say, I want to be mature. I want to go beyond maybe just what I've been learning for the last 20 plus years. I want to go deeper, and I want to go deeper. And that's a decision that each one of us get to make. Just like, the 60-year-old man who's chosen not to be mature.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's chosen to sit at home, and he's chosen to not take care of his family, and he's chosen to blow his money. He is not mature. He's making a choice. Maturity is all is a choice. And in your faith walk, it's a choice. I want to go deeper. You can go deeper. In your societal like job, or even just like life, if you want to be a mature person, you can. It all just boils down to what it is. And this is why I believe this, that the heart, it goes where it wants to go. And so you have to create a picture, something far greater for the heart to go after. So it is on us to paint a picture of something more beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
to lead my heart to. So something, I want to see an example. I want to see a picture. I want to hear a song or a melody that is going to lead my heart to desire something more than what is in place right now.
Right. Wow. That I completely agree, obviously. So knowing that, my audience is very similar to the audience that you serve at PYA, what's that final piece of advice, or that key thing that you always hound into PYA? What is that final piece of advice that you'd like to close with the audience that you have at church as well?
Yeah, so at Praising Adults, I love to say a lot of sayings or whatnot, but you have to know who you are, and this takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just freedom to anybody out there who's listening, who is saying, "Oh man, I want to do this faith thing," and I believe this to be true. It's never too early for you to get involved in having faith, and it's never too late for you to get involved.
Right.
And so right now, if you're struggling and you're trying to figure it out, what I would challenge for that person to do is to have an honest conversation with Jesus. And it's what I would say is a prayer, but really it's just you talking.
Mm-hmm.
And this doesn't have to be you voicing out loud saying, "Hey God, up in the sky." It could be through a pen and paper. It could be through not saying anything at all and just thinking and just marinating. But what I do believe to be true about the character of God is he shows up every time he's called upon, and he's faithful to be there when we need him most and when we don't need him at all. He is faithful to do those things. And what I would challenge anybody, or what I would ask a lot of the young adults to do now is to have a self-reflection moment of, what am I doing here on this earth? What am I purposed for? And what is it that I believe that I can do on this earth to make a difference? And filter that with, if I added God to my life, would those answers that I'm looking for improve or decrease? And I take it, challenge me on it, challenge anybody on it. If God does not increase those things, then don't do it.
Right.
But I just believe to be true is that he will, and he wants to be involved.
Uh-huh.
He wants to be active. He wants to be in your life, because he is the creator. I believe that he created each one of us, and he's placed us here. He's purposed us here. He's given us hope. And we have access to that. We just have to take the mature step and say, I'm willing and I'm wanting to do that more. And if people don't know how to see that, then it is on us, people that believe in Jesus, that have had our life affected by it, to paint a more beautiful picture for that person to see, so that their heart will then long and desire after that. And so if I could leave them with anything in a last sentence, it would be, ask the question, what on earth am I here for? And what's your purpose?
Amen.
And I believe that starts with asking people where they're at with Jesus.
Amen. Amen. That was incredible. We just scratched the surface. So if you're into this, listening, you're into this, we barely just scratched the surface. You really got to dive in a little bit more to really get what we're saying. So if people have questions, Darian, or if people want to follow what you're doing at PYA, or follow what you're doing as an individual or at Praise, where can they find you? Where can they go ask questions?
So every first Tuesday of the month in Beaumont, Texas, we have our young adult service. And what this is just a big gathering. And so we're going to, hang out for probably the first hour or so at 6:30. And then we're going to go inside and we're going to make the main thing. And so we're going to try our best to connect with Jesus. And so we're going to sing some songs, and then we're going to take a bit of scripture and we're going to break it down, and we're going to teach, and hopefully to equip you so that when you go to your college, when you go to your job, you've got something that you can say, I can empower myself, or I can lead myself, or I can point other people to Jesus. And so that's our young adult service. We meet at Lamar University every third Tuesday. We meet at Praise Church and off Walker Street, off North Major and 105 every first Tuesday. And then if you've ever got questions on my Instagram, so at Darian Graves, or at Darian.Graves. And then I love people. Like I don't know anything else. If I was not a pastor, I'd be a people person. I don't know what that even means. But if I could have it my way, I would literally do 6-7 lunches a day. Like, I get excited about sitting down one-on-one with people for dinner, for breakfast, for lunch, and for snack and coffee time, inside or outside of the church. And so if you got any questions, DM me. Look, you can message us on Instagram at Praise Young Adults. You can follow us, and we've got events. We go bowling. We go, we got a volleyball competition we did a while back. We've got some really fun things we're going to be doing here in the fall. And we love to hang out with anybody. And even if you're just got questions, you're like, all right, dude, everything you said is false, please message me, email me at Darian Graves, at praisechurch.tv. I would love to take this conversation and do lunch, do coffee. You can call me, you can text me. My whole job exists literally to serve people. And so if there's any way I can help, maybe even go deeper on some of these topics, I'd love to do that.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, y'all go connect with Darian at any of the places that he just said. Also go and follow the podcast at How to Adult TW on Facebook and Instagram. We are going to continue to learn how to adult, whether that's money, whether that's faith, whatever it is. We're going to continue to learn how to adult together.